Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is December the 20th, 2019. Strong hand. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin in motion. And all three of these guys are in motion. And they're going to be talking about what they're doing out in the space today. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. Offended by selling? All right, everyone. You are Unique Beast. Hello, you Unique Beast. Hello, my elite friends. We've got some elite friends here on the show today. We got Juan, we got Phil, and we've got Anders. They're all over the place. They're going to be talking about their projects. Hey, everybody, remember, Twitter, I'm TechBalt. These guys, all of their connections are linked to below. Oh, yeah, they've got a lot of links below, so check them out. We're going to start off with something that people have been yenting about on crypto Twitter this week. It's one of my favorite subjects. Is the halving priced in or not? There are people that are starting, because the halving is 180 days away, something like that. Oh, it's coming up. We're almost in 2020. Wow. But there's some people that say the halving isn't priced in. There's some people, a lot of people are saying the halving is priced in. Now, I'm one of those guys that is screaming to the rooftops and saying it's not priced in. Now, we've got someone out here, my buddy Adam, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. He reminds us, and it's linked to below, something that Dan Hell just said. The halving is priced in for current believers, but not for future ones. All right, Phil, what do you think the situation is here?
I don't think the halving is priced in at all because Bitcoin isn't priced in. So for me, maybe that makes sense that the halving is priced in for me personally, but that's because I refuse to trade any of my Bitcoin for fiat currency or any other currencies. So I think to Dan's point, maybe it makes sense that for strong hands, the halving is priced in because we know the true value of Bitcoin. And friends don't let friends sell Bitcoin. So absolutely not. The halving is not priced in. I'm holding. I would recommend that you hold as well.
Yes. The masses, they don't grasp Bitcoin yet. I think that's what Dan Held was trying to say. So if most people don't know, then the market hasn't priced it in. That's what I'm saying. But as individuals, we know, like, again, I was talking on my show the other day, I will never sell a Bitcoin for below $20,000. I mean, already in my mind, it's one is worth 20, but we were already there before. Anders, what's your theory on this?
Yeah, absolutely. The halving is not priced in at all whatsoever. This whole thing about knowledge being priced in only exists theoretical in books, where we say that the market is perfect and information is perfect, but information and understanding and interpretation of that information is not at all perfect. We have not even 1% of the world's population knows that there is a halving coming up, and even less than that understanding what it does. You could also say, look, the stock to flow model very nicely predicts from plan B, extremely nicely predicts the price of Bitcoin, and with a very high statistical, security. But we are not trading Bitcoin for 10 million, even though we're gonna get there. So if we are pricing in future knowledge, it would already be there, and it's not. So the halving is not priced in because it takes time for the knowledge and understanding to spread from word of mouth, from people to people. It's that human factor that just means that it's not there at all, and it starts to kick in once the supply is cut in half. Well, fresh supply is cut in half, because there's always the supply of Bitcoin selling at any time, of course, but fresh supply, when that is cut in half, that will start to slowly drive the price higher. Well, the first halving, it started to be pre-run or front-run about 6 months earlier. The second one, 12 months earlier. This current one, the price bottomed out and started to move higher 16 months earlier. So, more and more people get it, but does the entire world's population know it and are able to price it in now? Not at all, because then we would be at, above $20 million per Bitcoin.
Whoa, pound that like button, people. Remember, you guys can ask questions of the panel today too. Just type in Bitcoin Meister or do a super chat so I can see it. All right, Juan, let's see how good your internet is now. What are you thinking about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally with you guys. I don't think it's priced in. And one of the things to keep in mind here is that we did a 20x in price over the past bull market, past 2-3 years, and the volumes are much higher. It may just be that we've escaped that sort of small market we were in, right? Pricing in the halving 5 years ago with the small community libertarians and venture capitalists and technologists, maybe that moved the price. But today we're playing in a much bigger game, right? There's a much bigger game now. There's also futures trading and all that. And, you get back and you got the CBOE, and so I think the reality is we won't see a big move in price until the supply actually gets cut in half. I'm not like, my opinion of the sentiment is that the sentiment is not where it was during the bull market, the run up from 500 to 20,000. I mean, I remember the energy that I felt back then, and it was, the FOMO was everywhere, right? Like, to me, it's a feeling that I'm describing, but it was very clear to me that we were in a bull market. I don't feel that right now, and I think it may just be because, to some degree, the memes are contained to Twitter. The memes are contained to certain circles in Telegram, certain small circles. It doesn't seem to me like we're breaking into mainstream media. We're not really breaking into the news cycle that much. It's a lot of attention going to politics. And I mean, maybe I'm just not paying enough attention, but I think it seems to me like I don't see that many news articles from mainstream media about Bitcoin anymore. And it's probably because there's a lot of focus on American politics right now. So I'd like to see more stuff happening in Hong Kong. I'd like to see more attention go into it. But I think this might be like my feeling, my sense of it right now is that we might actually have to wait until the actual halving for that effect on the price to actually take hold.
I will say that, yeah, I don't think the halving hype has started yet, but the media will write about it eventually. They'll get tired of writing about the politics, I'd say. So we actually, just a couple days ago, speaking of price, and I don't like to talk about price very much, but it was an anniversary, a notable anniversary. 2 years since the all-time high price. Does it feel like 2 years, Juan? What do you have? Any thoughts about that?
That's wild. No, it doesn't feel like 2 years to me. It feels like yesterday. I'm still coming off the high of 20,000. I still feel like I'm rich, but maybe got to start hodling more. So I don't know. I think I think we're in for a little bit more of sideways, and I'm not feeling the big bullish momentum yet. Big sentiment.
Did that since we're 1 day closer to an all-time high, Bitcoin always returns to its all-time high. In your hodl mentality, in your hold mentality, does that number stick out in your mind, that previous all-time high? Does that like give you like a base layer, like what you won't sell under? I mean, like that's my opinion. I mean, that number is stuck in my head. Like, we'll get there again, type of thing.
Well, the price does look like we're in that capitulation stage, right? So we had the big run up, a big correction, and then now it does seem like we're in that accumulation stage. Sorry, that accumulation stage. So I'm hodling. I don't want to sell any of it. I definitely think it's a good time to dollar cost average in. This little bubble we had, this sort of micro bubble we had the past year, is very strange to me, and it's behaved, I think, different than the past sort of bull markets, because the speed at with which it went up was it caught me off guard. It was really amazing how fast it went, and now we're going back down. So there's a lot of velocity right now. I think one of the things that I heard online recently was that the bridges to the Bitcoin marketplace are bigger than they've ever been, by like orders of magnitude bigger, right? But so whenever the people decide to come, they're gonna come in huge hordes, right? But they're just not coming yet, and I think we can see that in the massive volatility. We had a 2-day 40% sort of movement right recently, and that was very eye-opening to me as to the speed with which things can go up, but there just has to be a good enough sort of prime for that.
Yeah, I will say that price spike we had during the spring or the summer, that was an anomaly. That didn't happen in 2015, something like that. If my whole theory is every 4 years, it's basically the same thing, 210,000 block theory. So we didn't have something like that, but whatever, it happened. And I agree with you. There are not many new people coming in right now. That's just the fact. But hey, once they come in, it'll be easy for them to come in because the on-ramps are there. Phil, your thoughts on the 2-year anniversary or anything that we just talked about?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think we're actually starting to see. I agree with Juan. We're in a heavy accumulation phase, and the things that I look at that make me feel a lot better about it is like things like the backed volume hitting all-time highs, or the Argentina local Bitcoins volume hitting all-time high, and then just like from a Unchained Capital perspective, we work with a lot of hodlers, and there's a new wave of people who are coming for service that got into Bitcoin or learned about Bitcoin about a year ago. And to them, the price has doubled, right? Even at 7,000 or whatever it is, like they've doubled their money in a year. And so they're very excited about Bitcoin. So I can just see the new hodlers being forged. And it makes me really optimistic for the future. I think, it's, like you mentioned, just a matter of time until we hit that all-time high. And so what I'm doing personally is stacking sats as often as I can. So, holiday purchases, stack some sats. Don't like a tweet from Paul Krugman, stack some sats. Pretty much, just whenever I can, toss some more dollars into sats. That's what I'm doing. And I think I'm very optimistic, obviously, but I see it in the sentiment, I think, on social media, as well as the institutional sentiment, like through things like CMEs and backed.
Do you see people getting distracted? Some of the long-term people there's a lot of noise out there about people wanting to do things with their Bitcoin other than hold it. Like there seem to be a lot of companies popping up now that are offering interest. There are lots of different ways to give away your Bitcoin and to supposedly get interest. Do you see that growing? Do you see people getting a little antsy?
Is that directed to me?
Yeah, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that what we're seeing is that there is a present and future demand for Bitcoin financial services. So good or bad, like, lending out your Bitcoin for interest, regardless of your individual opinion on it, like other people are demanding those services. And so what I think we have to do as Bitcoiners now is figure out, well, what's the best, safest, most secure way to offer those services? Some of the companies have set up the sort of traditional account structure. Other companies are taking a different approach, trying to give private key ownership its place.
Okay. Anders, we just talked about a lot. I'm sure you've got some thoughts on the 2-year anniversary or anything we talked about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the 2-year anniversary. Yeah. The thoughts and feelings, because there's definitely were a lot of emotions at that stage, are still fresh in mind. So in that way, it doesn't seem like 2 years ago. I'm just happy that that long bear market, which at that stage I did not anticipate. It wasn't until a year ago that it became clear to me how the bull and the bear swings around the halvings, which is what I really love to focus on now, because it's just, I feel so predictable, and it can help people when to stack sats heavily and when maybe not to stack sats so heavily. And the Maya multiple is great for signaling when to buy and when not to buy. I think, personal opinion, not advice. And it was good to see that December last year, 12 months ago, it bottomed out Bitcoin. In January, the low was higher than it was in December. So despite having a run up this summer that we've come down from, we're still up that 100%, as Phil mentioned, in 1 year. And that's, I mean, try and find any other asset that's up 100%. That is, pretty phenomenal. And to me, it's quite predictable that we're now in the halving coming up. I feel quite certain personally what's going to happen. The way it happens is, as Juan said, it is first an accumulation phase. So this whole thing of approaching the halving, the price historically and as it's doing now is coming up, but it's not going 400% a year. It's gone up 100% a year. And then after the halving, it starts to go faster, and then eventually you have the FOMO top. So it's really like a long ski jump or ramp now, and it just feels great that the ramp is happening. We are going up, and I feel it's pretty predictable what's going to happen until approximately 1.5 years after the halving, because the two previous halvings had their FOMO top approximately 1.5 years after the halving. There is, of course, the chance that the halving or the FOMO market will be front run, and therefore it will happen sooner and then die off sooner as well. So maybe the top is going to be 12 months instead of 1.5 years. Honestly, that's what I thought, and I know Plan B also wrote about that. With the peak this summer, I was thinking, okay, this whole halving is being front run a lot earlier. It's getting real steep real fast. That wasn't the case. We came down back to earth, and I can just say we can really apparently trust the Maya multiple, because that actually became it came in red territory. It became above 2, which is normally a sell signal, or take some chips off the table and have them for a day where the Maya multiple goes below 1. To just comment further on that, then when you look at history throughout and look at the Maya multiple, anytime it goes above 2 is the time that you should be taking a little bit chips off the table. And when the Maya multiple goes below 0.6 or 0.7, you're at a stage where it's really like you should start considering liquidating almost any asset you have and get in, because those are the rare opportunities, and it's never failed to give amazing returns. Those are the best times to purchase a lot of sats. I think right now, and I have this site open, so I have it live. So right now the Maya multiple is 0.77, so very near to the point where it's like, okay, let me sell my car and buy a bicycle, and then put a little get a little extra sats. We're very near that, and it's less than 5 months to the halving. It's like it's 4.5 months and a few days to this major driver of bull market that is unseen in other assets. To me, it's phenomenal that we can be right now at this price, just 7,200, Maya multiple this low. The halving is right there. We can almost touch it, and we know what's going to happen. And if there was a really good reason that the price of Bitcoin was down, sure, I would understand that people were nervous. But when you think about it and you look around, there's not a single reason at all that the price of Bitcoin is down. So there's really, in my opinion, nothing to be worried about. And it's just the time to remember to be greedy when others are fearful. And then when others are greedy and the Maya multiple is above 2, you might want to sell a little bit at 200,000 because you want to buy it back up at 50,000 or something like that, after the next bull run and bear market, if that happens in that order.
All right. Mayor multiple being tossed in there. I like that. Pound that like. But now there is a you make.
Yes. I'm so sorry, but maybe I should just explain to if there's any of you viewers that don't know what the Mayer multiple is, but is basically the current price, today's price of Bitcoin divided by the average price of Bitcoin the last 200 days. So if the average price the last 200 days is 10,000 and right now we are at 5,000, the Mayer multiple would be a half. Just to throw that in to make sure that everyone knows that.
Yes, very good FYI there for everyone. Now, something else that you said during your talk there was that other assets would love to do as well as Bitcoin has during this year. It's doubled in value since the beginning. Now, we've got a question, and this week there was a tweet floating around about how since in this decade, since we're approaching the end of the decade, whatever way you want to define a decade is, we're about to enter the 2020s. In other words, the Bitcoin just 90,000x or something, and gold did a 1.5x. I don't even know. It wasn't even comparable. It's unbelievable the difference between the two. But the question from the audience here that I want that Guy Bennett sent $5. He says, "What is the panel's and thank you, Guy. What is the panel's view about Bitcoin's value when its inflationary rate drops below gold's and heads towards zero?" Juan, what do you think about that? You got me?
Oh, you asked me?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say other than that it's going to get really hard to get Bitcoin, and it's going to be, people are going to be asking for a lot of money for it. It's a very special characteristic of Bitcoin that it has a fundamentally scarce supply, right? There's So I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. Yeah, the price should go up, assuming demand is the same, right? This is I tweeted about this a little bit recently. Is that we have the rocket ship, we know we know where the goal is, right? The infrastructure is built, the supply is scarce, but the fuel is demand, right? And I think the demand will continue to grow slowly, but as it has so far. But that's an important part of it too. Like people need to know why Bitcoin matters, and to some degree, the price will influence that, right? As the price bill goes up, it's a self-fulfilling FOMO prophecy, right? Just how it's been since the beginning, right? So I mean, I think we know what's going to happen.
Phil,
in theory, right? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Phil, your thoughts on that?
Well, I had published about a month ago an article called "All 21 Million Bitcoin Already Exist." So from my perspective, Bitcoin has zero inflation because we have nearly perfect knowledge of any sort of upcoming supply that's locked away in Coinbase transaction headers. So that's why, to me personally, this whole concept of Bitcoin having inflation doesn't make sense because everyone knows that the supply is 21 million. People can't access some of the supply right now, but people also can't access Satoshi's supply. So, we know we have downward selling pressure based on miners spending electricity to find those blocks. But I don't view it as inflationary even today. I think that Bitcoin solve the problem of scarcity by defining the total supply of BTC that are available. And then there's just two ways that people can transact, either by broadcasting transactions and signing with a private key, or by selling hashed electricity to the network in this form of mining and competing with other people who are doing so. I don't think that there is inflation. I think what we are seeing is that the people who understand Bitcoin today have a massive, massive advantage in terms of knowledge about what has happened over people who don't quite understand Bitcoin yet or understand the monetary properties of Bitcoin. And so that's really where we have to focus our time and energy is educating people about this phenomenon that has occurred, which is Bitcoin solving that problem of digital scarcity.
All right, Anders, I don't know if you had any comments on that question. If you do, you can say something. But I actually had another question for you. So
Okay. All right. But in that case, if you want to shoot another question to me, let's do that. I just want to say shout out to Guy Bennett and thanks for sending the $5 to you, sponsoring the show. I know, Guy, we've been communicating and talking sometimes after he saw me on your show earlier, and he's a good guy. So shout out to him. And yeah, shoot me with another question.
Oh yeah, Guy is awesome. Pound that like button for Guy Bennett. He's a longtime supporter here. All right, so the question is this: we heard some news this week. Someone on Binance tried to remove their Bitcoin and send it to a Wasabi wallet, and Binance said, "Oh no," and sent the guy a lot of questions. And so it's linked to below what exactly happened. We actually talked about it I talked about it on yesterday's show. He got KYC'd up the yin yang there because he was sending it to, he thought the Bitcoin was his, and he was sending it to a Wasabi wallet. He was shocked they knew he was sending it to a Wasabi wallet. Anders, you and I actually sent some messages back and forth about this. What? And you brought up BISC, which I thought was great. I forgot to bring it up on yesterday's show. So what do you have to say about that situation?
Yeah, okay, wait, let me just, well, first of all, I guess it's really, it's totalitarian, but it's because our society is moving towards being more and more totalitarian, with surveillance, and I kind of, you can't blame Binance. Like, I understand why they do it. I totally don't like that they do it, but they are being held responsible by the main mafia, the main mob in the room, which is the government. So if they cannot explain user behavior of funds to the government, they might get their exchange shut down. So I do not like what Binance is doing, or any other exchange that shuts down accounts because of this. And I can mention Cash App as another one. I had an account on Cash App and they closed down my account. They didn't even want to give me a reason, but well, Wasabi wallet seems like it could be a perfect explanation in coin joining. So obviously it's something that I'm against, and I think it's very important that we as people in general understand the importance of not being surveilled by our governments to this extent, because this massive surveillance that we're living under, that is really just increasing, means that the people in power will always have an advantage to any of their political opponents, and can cause harm to their political opponents, can shut down funds for their political opponents. And even in so-called democracies, this is a problem. I've had an account with Bank of America that was frozen for no reason given, and it took forever to unfreeze it. No reason given. And I'm not, at that time I didn't even know Bitcoin. I was like, I can't see how in any way I could cause a red flag in any way. So I think it's important that we try to avoid these situations and fight against it. However, the only way really you can fight against something like that is by doing, like I said yesterday to you, peer-to-peer trading. If you want to avoid this, which we do, you need to do peer-to-peer trading of your Bitcoin. You need to find, if you need to buy, you need to find your seller peer-to-peer. If you want to sell, you need to find a buyer peer-to-peer. And we spoke about BISC is one example. It's a decentralized exchange. So using that, where BISC because it's decentralized, it's not, the government can't interfere. So there's no pressure on them to shut down anyone because they're using privacy methods to handle their money. Then a BISC and other decentralized exchanges would be the way we would have to go, I guess. And I know there's a lot of also Bitcoin trading at meetups. Some people want to sell there, some people want to buy. Yeah, and then I still recommend, when you trade with someone, you should still use the Wasabi or others coin joins before and after, basically clean your coins, not because you're doing anything illegal, but otherwise it's very easy for them to find out how much you're sitting on, and you don't want other people to know what you have, because that could be a liability in terms of kidnapping or whatever.
All right. The important thing, well, I just say don't trade at all, but some people have to trade. And so a BISC isn't going to say to you, hey, we don't like you where you're about to send your Bitcoin to. That's not how it works. That's the thing. You control that. All right. So that's something to important to remember, the difference between when you're dealing with a centralized exchange and something like BISC. They're gonna, whenever you're sending your Bitcoin off of these exchanges, they're in control of your Bitcoin at that point. So they give the go ahead. So if they don't like that address, if they suspect anything, they can just cut it off. BISC doesn't.
Actually, like it's back to the good old. I don't remember who invented it, but not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And if your Bitcoin is on Binance or if on Cash App or anywhere else, that is no longer your Bitcoin. What you have is an IOU from that exchange that they're meant to send that to you, but they all of a sudden, it's up to their discretion, because that's in their terms and conditions, that it's up to their discretion whether they, want to keep your account open or not. Yeah. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin.
Not your coins. Exactly. Roman Q said this real quick. Would bouncing the UTXOs around a few times before sending to Wasabi break the heuristic? Well, yeah, wouldn't it? But it doesn't. The point is that if you really control your own Bitcoin, you should be able to send it anywhere immediately without being stopped. So, what the simple answer could have been for the guy to just send it to some address somewhere else from Binance, and then bounce it around a few times, and then send it to the Wasabi. But it's the larger point here. It's the bigger point here. Not your Bitcoin, not your key, not your coin. Yeah, Anders is trying to say something there.
I don't think that will fix it, because it's very easy for them to see that, okay, it goes from one address to another, to another, to another, fine. And then boom, it's being coin joined, with thousands of addresses. That's pretty easy to see what's going on.
It's easy to see, but you would have been able to get your, for me, I was thinking you'd be able to get your money off of Binance at least. They couldn't stop you at that point. That's well.
It's really strange how that worked. If you don't mind me jumping in here, real quick,
sure.
Because as far as I understand, Wasabi Wallet, it just creates Bec32 addresses. And when you copy paste the Bec32 address into Binance, you're not giving them the IP of the server that's running the node of Wasabi Wallet. You're just giving them a Bec32 address. So the only way that they could have known, because like Green Address does Bec32, right? There's other wallets that do Bec32. So the only way that they could have noticed is if he previously withdrew money to a Bec32, ran it through the mixer, and they were keeping an eye on that, and then he withdrew to another Bec32, and they're like, okay, he could be repeating his behavior. Yes. So I have a lot to say about this, but I'll let you finish your thought.
But exactly, I think from what I read on Twitter, that was exactly what had happened. Like it's not the first time when you get it just sent to one address in a Wasabi wallet that it happens, but when they've seen it happen before, I believe that was the case.
Okay, Phil, you haven't chimed in on this yet. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a great quote from a cypherpunk that is, privacy is something that should be selectively revealed to the world. So we should each individually have the option whether or not we want to give up personal information. And I think one of the biggest problems here is that Binance sort of jumped one of their customers. Like the customer didn't understand that this was something that Binance was going to track in advance, and then the customer was punished for it. So in that scenario, like that customer didn't selectively choose to reveal that level of privacy. And that's where I think the issue pops up. I mean, I think ultimately what we have to do as Bitcoiners is mix more, like mix all the coins, and then also choose to work with companies that respect that level of privacy, so that you're not surprised. You know, if you're working with a company, it's almost certain that you're giving up some level of anonymity, but just make sure that it's very clear how you're going to be tracked, or how your Bitcoin are going to be tracked as they move around. And then I'm just a big fan of mixing and Wasabi in general, because it's nobody's business what's happening with the coins unless you as an individual choose to share that.
All right. This is actually a time, a good. Oh wait. Someone else about to say something there?
Yeah,
I just want to say one last.
Oh,
okay.
Go ahead.
I'll just do it real quick. So imagine you use Binance, you withdraw, and then you actually sell some Bitcoin to someone who then uses Wasabi. Binance can't see that isn't you who just haven't added one jump and then uses Wasabi, and you still own the Bitcoin. So it really causes problems. And I agree. Maybe, you know, if we could only get everyone to use Wasabi or some other coin join, then they wouldn't have a choice, because then they would have to shut down their exchanges, and they don't want that. They want to run. You know, they want to earn the money.
Exactly.
All right, Juan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem that's been identified in Bitcoin for years, and it's that there's Bitcoin is not completely transparent, because it doesn't care about your name or your color or your country or your date of birth. It doesn't care about any of that. It doesn't even know about those things. But it also isn't anonymous, as much as anonymous as it would need to be able to protect itself from this kind of sort of surveillance, let's say attacks, right, or controls, right? And that's one of the reasons that there's been other cryptocurrencies that have risen to try to improve this. And to some degree, it's a very difficult problem. And Satoshi just didn't have an answer at the time. Or maybe he just thought that being in the middle of that spectrum of perfect surveillance, transparency, and perfect anonymity, if possible, maybe being in the middle was the fair path to take. I don't know what Satoshi was thinking or what exactly happened. I suspect it was just difficult to do anonymity at the time, like we have today. But the reality is that there's been a lot of conversation about this, and one of the threats to Bitcoin is that surveillance attacks of this sort start to crack its fungibility. Fungibility is one of the qualities of money, which means that one Bitcoin equal one Bitcoin, and not one Bitcoin if transparent equal one Bitcoin, and if dark then equals one Bitcoin -5, because now you gotta go to sell it in the 5%. You gotta go sell it in the black market, because it won't be accepted into sort of off ramps and so on. So if you end up in a market where some of the coins are transparent and some of the coins are dark, then there's going to be a price difference between those different coins, and this is something that happens in general anyway, right? Like I wrote a big article on fungibility a few years ago in Bitcoin Magazine, and I'll tweet it below after the show. But this happens in general. It's kind of like arbitrage, right? There's arbitrage. There's arbitrage between having cash and moving money in the bank account. And there's to some degree, there's small differences in prices between those two forms of the same money. Something like this could happen in Bitcoin, and it could maybe happen even worse. It could be bigger, because now you maybe the exchange you're trying to sell your Bitcoin on won't accept it. So now you gotta connect to local community. You gotta do local Bitcoin. So you gotta meet people. You gotta build relationships with local traders. You gotta maybe start getting businesses involved, right? And I think we need to get entrepreneurs to start integrating Bitcoin and a HODL strategy into their businesses, so that we can grow this economy. All of that said, I think at this point it's a civic duty essentially to do coin joining Bitcoin, because the only way that we can fight the surveillance attempts, the attempts to turn Bitcoin into a surveillance grid, is by the Wasabi sort of pseudonymity and anonymity, the coin mixing ubiquitous, right? There's a principle in anonymous coin design, which is that the privacy has to be by default, and this has been played out over the years between Dash, Monero, and Zcash. And as far as I'm concerned, I think as far as a lot of sort of technical people are concerned, Monero is the best in privacy because it has default privacy. There's no option to be transparent unless you reveal your private key one-to-one. But there's no every transaction gets mixed, and every transaction you have plausible deniability unless you opt in to reveal your account, right? Whereas with Zcash, you have transparent addresses, and then you can blind them. And with Bitcoin, you have transparent addresses, which you can mix, right? And so default privacy is the best place to be, and we're not there. And we have to, I think it is kind of in the place of civic duty now to simply mix them, because it's not solved at the protocol level. The Lightning Network might bring this level of privacy in the coming years, but there's a lot of growth that has to happen.
Chris Bleck in the chats, I don't know if he's serious about this, but this would be an interesting thing. Coin join day is coming January 2020. That would be funny to have a coin join day, like a day everyone, okay, this is the day everybody uses coin join and creates a huge mix of Bitcoin there. That would be fun. Instead, hey, for now, proof of keys is coming in January. So remember that, people. Okay. I think, did anyone else have anything else to say about this topic before we move on?
Yeah, can I just add one more thing?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah,
That's YouTube. Yes.
So I think I think that Satoshi understood that you have to make a trade-off early on between completely publicly verifiable supply and default privacy. So some of the problems that we're seeing with these privacy coins is that it's incredibly difficult to verify the supply, and we have no idea if any sort of inflation bugs have been introduced. Whereas in Bitcoin, we would be able to see instantly, regardless of if the transaction's coin joined or not, whether supply has been adjusted or inflated. So I think that's the kind of the bullet that Bitcoin had to bite. But moving forward, and now that we're introducing different obfuscation techniques like coin join, and then in the future Schnorr signatures, we'll be able to get a much higher level of privacy, and then on the base layer. And then what I'm kind of envisioning is a massive coin join with a Schnorr signature that's then immediately pushed to the Lightning Network. That's pretty private or anonymous at that point. Like, it would be very, very difficult to track where the funds move after that type of transaction. So I think it's coming. I mean, we can certainly get better, but it's something that's actively being worked on, and I have hope for the future there.
Interesting. Using all the tools that are out there now, basically in one big mumbo jumbo there, big combo. Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Well, let's move on to you, Phil. What Unchained Capital and an article that I mentioned when it came out, Bitcoin Magazine talked about this caravan and this trying to make multi-sig mainstream. And people are always asking about multi-sig, especially after JW comes on the show. So tell us what this is all about, your product over there.
Absolutely. Well, our primary products are, we have two. We have a collateralized US dollar loan, and we have a long-term vault. But both of these are based on collaborative custody, which is our implementation of multi-signature. So the idea there is that we believe that Bitcoiners should be holding their private keys and should be having as much control over their Bitcoin as possible in any given financial service or exchange. So if you want to get a US dollar loan, for example, it doesn't make sense for you as an individual to have total control, but having 1 out of 3 keys might make sense in that scenario. But one of the most asked questions that we get from our customers when they're investigating Unchained Capital is, what happens if Unchained Capital just disappears, right? So we've seen plenty of exchange hacks in Bitcoin, And we don't want something like that to happen to us. And if something like that does happen, we want our clients to be able to spend funds externally. And so the way that we did that is by building this tool called Caravan. And Caravan makes it incredibly easy to both construct multi-signature addresses as well as spend multi-signature addresses from an open source implementation. So on GitHub, Unchained Capital has a hosted version, but it's very straightforward to fork your own and host it on GitHub. And it's really as simple as choosing your quorum. So 1 of 2, 2 of 3, 3 of 5, taking your hardware wallet. So it works with Ledger, Trezor, and then Hermit, which is something that Unchained Capital developed. Plug them in and you have your address. So 2020, we feel like is going to be the year of multi-signature. Everybody should be learning about it right now. And Caravan just makes it really simple to learn about it. You just go to the site, plug in your devices, you have your address, you can test sending and spending. And then we have a lot of additional cool functionality on the horizon that we're planning to introduce to help people learn more about multi-sig, use it easily, and then be able to spend kind of ubiquitously across any of the multi-signature providers that are out there.
All right. That's a good summary right there, people. Link to below. These dudes are all linked to below. Thank you for that. And so if Phil's talking about what he's doing, these guys are in motion. So let's hear about what Juan is doing, a product that he sent me. When he didn't send me the act, he told me about this product. What's it? I got the name of it down here somewhere. The phone hodl, right? Is that what it's called? What's it? What is
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the phone hodl. So this came out of years of me being paranoid about losing my phone. I've recognized over the years that you have your two-factor authentication in here, right? You may not have a backup. Even if you have a backup, if you lose your phone, like I don't know how many 2FA codes you have, but I have like 100. Recovering 100 backup codes would take me a few hours, like 2-3 hours, probably one at a time, maybe a couple of hours, right? It would be really frustrating. People have wallets in here with money, and there's all kinds of media and photos and dick pics and contacts. You have your Telegram in here. I was at a party months ago, and my phone decided that it was a good idea to basically fell in a bag of tequila, and it drowned in tequila for like half an hour. Crazy story. Well, it was dead for like 6 weeks. And the result of that, when I got it back, is that I had to I don't know how, it was very complicated. I ended up losing access to my Telegram account and so on. And so basically what I've learned is that these things are very important. You got to really protect them. And they're $500, right? If people are willing to pay up to $1,000 in bounties to get their phone back, some studies from like 2015, 2016, people are willing to pay $1,000 over the price of their device to get their device back. So what I've been doing over the years is just basically tether myself to the thing, right? Attach myself to the phone. I've accepted that I'm an Android. I've embraced it. I am one with the machine, and so I've just sort of tethered myself to it. And then earlier this year, I just kind of said, well, you know what? This is a good product. People like it. People sort of notice it. Maybe I'll make something elegant. So I decided to make this. It's got real leather. This is black, bluish pull-up leather from Mexico. And it's got a little yo-yo. So if you drop it, it catches it, right? And I got a full video I wanted you to play. I can try to play here on my computer. And we got a little special bonus for people watching it. Otherwise, you can find it on my Twitter. It's pinned to my wall. And if you want to separate yourself from it, you can separate yourself from it temporarily. It has a little paperweight and so on, paper grip, clip. So it's just a little phone accessory that could save your phone. People, that the most forgotten item on Uber is phones. People lose their phones on Ubers all the time. On average, people lose a phone every year and a half, more or less. So I think, I'm trying to help solve that problem. I'm trying to keep you tethered to your phone. And that's phonehodl.com.
This is, I think, is a great idea. Again, it shows you don't have to have a technical device or technical sophistication to add to this space. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of people keeping everything on their phone, all their crypto information, but people are going to do it. So you might as well have it linked up to you so you don't lose everything. I mean, I would freak out if I had all that stuff on my phone. But anyway, yeah, I don't think we could play the video because you're kind of blurry right now anyway. But they are all he's linked to below. And go check it out, what the product is and everything. All right, so we got everybody talking about what they're doing. And I love this. I love that people are creating stuff like this. Entrepreneurial spirit. Anders, what are you up to?
Right. Well, first of all, I want to make sure I said before I potentially forget at the end of the show, thank you very much for having me on again, Adam. It's always a pleasure, and it makes me feel pumped, and I'm happy to go pumped into this weekend. And great to be on with these great guys on the panel and learning a lot of stuff. And that Juan's phone hodl. I looked at his Twitter account yesterday, and I thought, is this like a great thought out meme, or is he actually selling this thing? And it looks like a great product, and the video you have there is really funny. I recommend people go and check out Juan's Twitter profile and then go to the Twitter profile of the product and check out the video. And
thanks, man.
I think
it's
I might
real.
be getting that.
I'm actually selling it. It's real. Thanks,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, it's great. And I have a family member who exactly threw her phone in a lake, I think about 2 weeks ago, and still the phone is dead. Which has to be taken to Apple. I don't know if they can, fix it or not. If it'll dry up by itself. Anyways, all right. So what I'm doing, currently I'm advisor to GiveBitcoin.io, which is, I think, a fantastic service that I've been invited aboard to. Essentially, that is it's solving the problem of us true believers, fanatic believers that want to gift our family members or friends with a little bit of Bitcoin, but we know it's a monster task because at the same time we got to educate them about Bitcoin, we got to educate them about how to take care of it in cold storage themselves. So what Give Bitcoin does, GiveBitcoin.io, I know you have a link in the description, Adam, is here you go on the website and you can send whatever amount you want to the email address of your friend, and then they sign up themselves. Yes, it is KYC, etc., but that's the only way you can do it. So what happens is that the Bitcoin goes into a time lock so that these people, the receivers, are not tempted to sell it for a dirty fiat gain just because there is a pump coming, the next 20 months. So it's time locked for at least 1 year, but up to 5 years. You choose. In that period, the first year, they'll be given a lot of education, so they will understand economics, they will understand Bitcoin, they will understand how to take care of the Bitcoin themselves. And their cold storage and do it themselves. So once it's released from Give Bitcoin and the storage, the storage that it's in with a custodian, not Give Bitcoin but a custodian, then they are able to take care of it themselves, because they have been educated. And the reason it was created was our founder, Corey Klipstein, years ago was given what today would have been a sizable amount of Bitcoin, I think, and he didn't really care too much, and he didn't get the education, and he didn't know how to take care of it, and he lost it. So he realized there was a great potential for that. So that's a project I think is a great way for us Bitcoiners to help spread the knowledge about Bitcoin and the understanding of Bitcoin. And it could, I think it will work as a catalyst to spread this Bitcoin further and faster, because each time somebody has that aha moment, goes down the rabbit hole, then and you want to give Bitcoin to 5 family or friends, then it just goes faster. Those rings in the water when the stone splashes. So that's one thing. Another thing I started doing is, I've spent a lot of time, and you know that, Adam, because I've mentioned it pretty much every time I've been on your show. Thank you very much. That I've spent a lot of time trying to understand and analyze this whole swing between bull markets and bear markets that are very much driven by the halving event. I already mentioned it earlier. It starts as an uptrend before the halving, then it goes faster and faster, and then it starts really being a bull market with a FOMO peak pop, and then it goes bear market. And like, when does that start? When does that end? So what I started doing is I opened an account with eToro in US, which is the world's leading social investing platform, where I trade this knowledge, and I do not recommend anyone trading Bitcoin in general or putting their main holding of Bitcoin behind this, because that would be too risky. But what I would tell a friend, or have told a friend, is keep 95% at home secure, or whichever way you want to keep it secure, and then maybe 5% of it. So what you can do is on eToro, if you open an account and you need $200 in there, that's all you need, then you're able to copy other people, and it doesn't cost any money to copy, for instance, my portfolio, which is exactly trading this. And I gave you the links. I know you have them below in the show notes, where if people open an account with eToro in US, they get $50 when they open it. And then you need to have a total of 200, then you can copy people. And so that's what I'm doing now, trading this bull and bear market swing. And I think with a focus on Mayer multiple as well, not taking any chips off before that goes above 2. Likely it won't happen again until we hit 100,000, and then I think it's a good idea to take a little bit chips off as it goes up from there, because we don't know if the top is going to be 105 or if it's going to be 350 or 500. That's what I see as kind of like I think the most likely band would be somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 as the next top in 2021. Before there is a bear market. I don't think this bull market is the one that's going to take us into hyper Bitcoinization. I think that is the next one, to be honest. So yeah, that's another thing that I'm doing now, and I'm planning to start kicking live back into my old YouTube channel that I haven't been active on for more than a year, just because I've been busy with so many different things. And then use that YouTube channel, and people can use all whatever the information or analysis or education for free, and do these things themselves. It's totally out there, the information. I'll gladly help. Or if you have an eToro account and copy, it doesn't cost anything to copy another trader. You just need to have minimum $200 available for doing that. So I think I've said enough. But I'm passionate about that. The predictability and trading that predictability.
All right. In motion all over the place, dudes. Well, we're getting to the end of the show here. Chris Bleck just sent something in the super chat. Thank you very much, Chris Bleck. He's been on the show numerous times. He'll be on again in 2020, hopefully, if all goes well. All right. Let's get our conclusionary remarks here. Things that you want to share, things that were left out. Juan, we'll start with you.
I think it's been a great show. I think we talked about a lot of good topics. I think this coin join privacy topic is going to become a big theme in the coming years. I think Adam Back said a few years ago that he thinks that the next big consensus sort of crisis or Bitcoin drama is going to be around privacy. And he said that right after the big sort of scaling fork, right? And so yeah, I think that's the next grounds. Again, I think we need to see Bitcoin be useful in places in hostile environments, and I'm not sure that's happening, or if it is, there's not enough attention or light coming into that. I would like to see more interest in helping Hong Kong sort of protesters, for example, use Bitcoin and leverage it and do what they do. And I understand that it's a risky thing, and nobody really wants to put their face on it because it is the Chinese government we're talking about here. But I'd like to see more of that, and I think there is a grassroots interest from some of those groups, from some of the Hong Kong protesters and activists in it. Like some of them know about it, right? I'd like to hear more about Venezuela. I'd like to hear more about the hostile environments, because if it can't survive there, then it's only going to function in first world countries, and first world countries have stable currencies in general, right? So unless there's a big global financial crisis, then what are we doing, right?
I do want to say, interesting that you bring up Hong Kong. Just recently, I talked on yesterday's show, some activists just had their bank account shut down, a huge bank account, because they said it was money laundering. The government said it was money laundering, but it wasn't. It was, they were raising funds for protest. But if they would have used Bitcoin, that would not have happened. So the use cases there, so people have to wake up to that this exists, that you do not have to. If you're in one of these sketchy situations, you really shouldn't be relying on traditional finance mechanisms to finance yourself. Not a good confiscatable. Those are you want unconfiscatable when you're working around the edges there. So good. You brought that up.
Yeah, the account had $70 million in it.
Hong Kong dollars, but still, it's a lot. That's a lot.
Hong Kong dollars. Okay,
yes,
okay.
But still, that is quite a bit. It was quite a bit of money. Whatever. Right. I don't know what the exact exchange rate is. I think it's 1/4 of it was millions of dollars. All right. Okay. So yes, very good. And remember, we do have guests from Venezuela on this show. Check out the archives. Just a few weeks ago, we had some Venezuelan dudes here. But yeah, we need. Let's see how Bitcoin operates in those in these areas. Good points, Juan. Thank you for being on today and everything. And I link. Juan is totally linked to below. I linked to the video that he's talking about. Everything everybody's talked about is linked. We got lots of links below this video, so do check them out, people. All right, Phil, your conclusionary thoughts.
Absolutely, and I think kind of the previous point, how do we make Bitcoin unconfiscatable? And that's by getting private keys in the hands of Bitcoin holders. Not your keys, not your coins. Everybody should be using hardware wallets. Once you've got to the stage of holding your own private keys with hardware wallets, get on Multisig. Do it with Caravan. If you want to hire a security partner, come work with us. But what we're seeing for this like third generation of Bitcoin companies is that they're all looking for a way to hold their private keys. So I think what we're going to be getting away from is these centralized exchanges that we're seeing, and more into a collaborative custody future with Multisig and with private key ownership. So I'm pretty optimistic about at least Bitcoin being held and transacted with via private key. I think we're already seeing a new generation of holders that are demanding to hold their private keys, and that makes me really excited about the unconfiscatable future for Bitcoin.
Awesome thoughts there to conclude it. All right, you get the final word, Anders, and thank you, Phil, for being on today. Awesome, as usual, man.
Yeah, great to be on, man.
I'd just like to kind of go along with what Juan said, that scalability really we have solved with SegWit and Lightning Network being possible because of SegWit, and definitely privacy seems to be it should be, and it is then the next focus and for Bitcoin. And that is partly being solved by Lightning, as I understand it. I'm not very technical, but Lightning Network does give, I believe, a lot of fungibility to your payments that people can't necessarily see where they come from, and track the rest of your savings. Also, the people it goes through can't see it, and I think so. I've noticed that there's been a few like negative remarks about Lightning Network, obviously from the people supporting other coins, especially Btrash, and I think that's really, that what they're talking about is what they're saying is that the growth is not there, but I think that is just a matter of, because I know I'm really waiting for it to come out of beta, and they say, okay, guys, now it's safe to have $100 or $200 or $500 on it. Once it comes out of beta and it becomes a safe network to use on top of Bitcoin, I think that's when it'll explode, and that's when a lot of people will make sure to have a Lightning Network wallet on their phones, and will start using it. And then I'm sure, and then all the talk about Schnorr signatures and these other things, which I don't technically understand either, but as I understand it, a lot of privacy is coming to Bitcoin. So I'm so confident that we'll have all the privacy we need. Just it's a matter of, a year or two or something like that.
Strong hand, people. Be patient. Yes, don't do anything risky on Lightning. It's still in beta, just like he said. People forget that. So this is we play the long game here. We're going to look back on this in 2-3 years and look back on how things were 4 years ago, how things have evolved. It takes a little bit of time, but when you look back at it, it doesn't seem like that much time in the long run. Well, Anders, thank you again for being on the show. Thanks to all my guests. Hey, I just want to give everybody a sneak peek of something that I just found out about personally. I will be in Los Angeles, California from February the 12th until April the 6th. That is just been confirmed to me. So for my fans in Southern California, which there's one of them right there, Anders is there.
Adam.
Yes.
We gotta talk together then, because let's have you as a speaker at my meetup in Los Angeles.
Sure.
If you can fit that in your schedule, let's do one evening, because we had you once, and I can just tell it's the same with Vortex, because one thing is you guys sit and you're host on a show where you have to ask other people questions, but when you come out and you do a presentation like both you and Vortex have done, there's really a lot of quality information. It's very giving. So please do allow me to somehow arrange something. You can come out and give us a presentation on some topic you find interesting.
Century City, baby. I'll be able to get from West Hollywood to Century City. There's ways of doing it. Of course.
Close. That's close, man.
Yeah, relatively. Okay, LA. So LA people, you got a little sneak peek there. Thanks a lot, guest again. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember, subscribe to the channel, like this video, share this video. We do this every Friday is This Week in Bitcoin. You never know what time it's going to be on. There's a new show here every day. Saturday night, I'll be back with the Beyond Bitcoin show. We talk about all sorts of subject matters. And again, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy all sorts of holidays that are coming up. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Let me push stop live stream. Bye.
Happy holiday.
See you.